Good morning and happy new year. Happy 2026. Good morning again and welcome to A Victorious Life, an outreach teaching ministry located here in the beautiful city of Roses, Tyler, Texas. I'm your host, Lori Stimpson Arteaga. And as always, we want to say thank you for allowing us to broadcast through all of your many different iDevices for Sunday, December 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. And welcome to online Sunday school lessons for the Unchurched, Nonchurched, Church Hurt, and Pew Packer. I think that was one rock that pretty much hit everybody. Now, this is lesson 56. Here's what I want to say about lesson 56 and the new year. First of all, I need to apologize. I've had some technical difficulties, so that's why I'm running late. But I think we're going to start doing this again at 7 o'clock because the feedback that I got last year from the 7 o'clock was just a little bit better. Some of you say that you're in bed at 6 o'clock, and but you do watch it later. So I wanted to say thank you for everyone that has been watching and supporting the show. So, and support isn't always about the financial side of it, but I wanted to say thank you for that. But I did want to apologize because I was having some technical that was going to do it on the computer and all that, and I'm waiting for somebody to get out of the shower to bring me the charging cord for my phone. So, all right, today we are going to be in the book of John. Now, we have the purpose for the Bible study the Sunday school lessons is for you to understand not only a basic concept of the story, but also to make sure you understand how it is applicable to life. Now, I need to send a very special, now that's on my mind, I need to send a very special belated happy birthday to Darius Strange. Happy belated 16th birthday, Darius. I still have your gifts. Aunt Lori fell asleep. Okay. Aunt Lori went from the sewing machine to the bed and completely just thought about it this morning when I looked at the gift. So if you know Darius Strange, please tell him wish him a happy belated 16th birthday. So now with that, let's go very quickly to John chapter 2, because it's first Sunday and there is hey, Shoemake. I still cannot get over Tristan's, I think it was Tristan's voice. Lori, thank you very much for the quilt. Like he was almost 80 years old. I don't believe in reincarnation, but I'm inclined to believe somebody's been here before several lifetimes in a leadership role, because I felt so relaxed and calm when he called my name. Okay. I call your name. Stop. That's the last verse I need to see at the very beginning. Okay. John chapter 2, verse number 1 says, "And the third day there was a marriage in Cana of Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there." Now, again, we are in the book of John. We've talked from the beginning about we've been in the book of Matthew, we've been in Luke, we've been in Mark. Now we're going to go to John. And I want to remind you that while the four Gospels tell the same story, it's from a different perspective. And some of them will have more details. There are also some stories and some miracles, that are in there that are just going to kind of be glossed over by some of the disciples who are writing it. But this is one that I think has a lot of details. So again, chapter 2, verse 1, "And the third day there was a marriage in Cana of Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there. And both Jesus was called and his disciples to the marriage." Now, when it says they were called, that means they were invited. Can we follow Lori's lead in 2026? If you're not invited, don't show up. if they did not call you, text you, email you, or what every refined Southern woman loves to see in the mail, provide you with a personal invitation and or, like they say, an evite, because evites are pretty common now. But, again, most refined Southern women still love the feel of heavy embossed paper in their hand, and custom seals, breaking of custom seals. If in 2026, and this is away from Bible study, but in 2026, let us be found. If we are not invited, let us not show up. Okay, so Jesus was not a party crasher. He was invited to this wedding. And not only was he invited to the wedding, but also his disciples. And it says that they were called to the marriage. Now, this is something that I want to explain about the custom of marriage in other countries. There is a wonderful book. I don't put it on the fridge with the magnet. Yes, we do put it on the fridge with a cute magnet. Oh, you know me well. I am you and you are me. There's a wonderful book. I don't know if it's out of print now, but it's called Manners and Customs of the Bible. Back when I was in middle school, and I've said this 20 some years ago when I first started teaching Bible studies and stuff, my father pretty much made me read that book, okay, in middle school. And I didn't understand, but, being an avid reader, I read it. It all makes sense now. In that's an excellent book, so you can understand how, the significance of different ceremonies, such as the case with this marriage. When it says that he was called to a marriage, basically Jesus had been called to the marriage feast. They had gone, marriage was a process. This couple had probably been engaged or, since they were kids, even before 6, 7, 8, they were espoused. The Bible uses the word espoused. They were espoused to each other. It wasn't like there were the possibility of this being a love marriage back then was minimal. It was more than likely an arranged marriage. And if the two liked each other, then is what it is. But this was more than likely an arranged marriage. So he shows up at this marriage. The feast was the culmination of the marriage. A lot of cultures, like on the continent of Africa, their wedding feast will last for days, like their funerals will last for days. And the last part of it is a big feast. Now, here in America, we do things very quickly. Friday, you're going to have a repast, or in the African American community, the Southern community, a wake. Okay. And then you have the funeral the next day. Whether you're going to be cremated, whether you're going to be entombed, that's a 2-part process. Now, in some cultures, we'll say in Black culture, you're going to have a wake and you're going to have a funeral. Okay. And at the wake, you may have light little finger foods, but then you may have a full-scale barbecue or cookout. Personally, I want to be cremated, and I know the Christians are going to shrill with that, but because I don't want to spend a whole lot of money putting me in the grave. I'm not there. And I would just like nice pictures, and a memorial, so, and then I want spend all my money on the food. Put my favorite foods, ribs, good smoked ribs, and chopped beef, and corn on the cob, and potato salad with no raisins, walnuts, or carrots. All the food, good homemade mac and cheese with buttermilk and not just milk. Just food. So I digress. So that's at the time, he's really showing up at the feast side of it, and the disciples. So that means there were a connection with them. Jesus didn't bring plus 11. Okay. He didn't say, I got 12. No. And at the time, it wasn't the full set of disciples. It was maybe 2 or 3. It says, and when they wanted wine, the mother of Jesus saith unto him, they have no wine. Verse 4, Jesus saith unto her, woman, what have I to do with thee? Mine hour is not yet come. Now, I want to say this, verses 3 and 4. They ran out of wine. They didn't tell anybody. But evidently, Mary was close to the host or the hostess, the mother, or she had some kind of direct relationship with the people in charge, or maybe she wanted more wine and they said, I'm sorry, madam, we are out of wine. Though we cannot serve no wine before it's time. Okay, in my Parisian accent. So for however she found out, irrelevant, because the miracle actually starts in verse 4. So she goes to her son Jesus, and she basically says to him, they're out of wine. They don't have any wine. And he says to her, woman, what have I to do with thee? Mine hour is not yet come. So he kind of sort of rebukes her, but I don't think he said it in an ugly way. I don't think he was out there, woman, what you come to me for? I don't think he did that. The rebuke, because it was a rebuke. Okay. When he used the word woman, he didn't say mother, mama, lady, excuse me, hello. He didn't say any of those. He just said woman. So when he used the word woman, what it basically did was it put her on the level of a person that needed something. Okay. Which pushed him into a spiritual standpoint. Okay. So when he used the word woman, it wasn't disrespectful, although when we read it as students, it sounds like he came across harsh, brass, and crass. But when he used the word woman, it shifted from the respect of her being his mother to now you are a person that needs something. And when he said his hour has not come, he was basically saying to her, and you're not going to push me and rush my call. You're not going to push me into something that I am not yet ready to do. Because remember, Jesus was operating on spiritual instructions, godly and fatherly, godly instructions. He was not operating on the whim and at the beck and call of mankind. So when he said, my hour is not yet come, then he was basically speaking in code to say, number one, you can't rush this. Number one, I'm following a set of instructions and directions that you don't know about, and that's a point that I want to make to us all. God definitely has a plan for our lives. Jeremiah 29:11 says he knows the plan, the thoughts, etc. So look that up. If you don't have a Bible verse for 2026, Jeremiah 29:11 is the most excellent place to start for this week and for the year. But I challenge us all as believers and followers of Jesus, okay, that we will cease from trying to rush through the plan that he has for our lives by overlooking the instructions and the directives. My prayer for us all in 2026, again, I am not above reproach. I am not above learning. I don't have all the answers. I've said this before, but I think in 2026, a good rule of thumb, as they say, is let us not seek to rush to the end goal without appreciating the present, the where we are now, and not reflecting on the past of how we got to the present and how it's either going to be better for us in the future, or we're going to get what we're seeking after in the future, right? Let us seek to do that, because I'm just here to say, as for personally, there have been times that I've tried. I have an aggressive type A personality. I'm not going to beg you to keep doing stuff for me. I ask you once and you say, okay, then I give you the courtesy of maybe you forgot. Third time, I'm either in your face asking you, okay, is this something that you can do? Is this something that I need to do? Is this something that I need to take care of? You know, because that's just me. I don't mean to be rude, but I have an aggressive, hey, happy New Year to you, PJ. But that's the kind of personality that I have. And sometimes it can come across as being rude and arrogant, but it's not. It's how I was raised. All right. So, so there have been times when, because of my personality, because of I'm going to get this done, I'm going to do this, I did not take the time to reflect, to think about the people that had did it in the past and weren't successful. I didn't think about the people that did it in the past that were unsuccessful. I didn't think about those people. I just knew what I wanted the end result to do. And what ended up happening in a lot of those cases, I was not successful. I did not experience success in those areas because I didn't take the time in the present to reflect, to think it through, to plan it, to let it happen organically. Some things have to they have to happen organically. And what I mean by organically is when you put a seed in the ground, you can't put a seed in the ground on a Monday and expect that to germinate and grow on a Tuesday. That's not possible. So sometimes we have a lot of these unrealistic expectations, even as believers of Christ. We have a lot of unrealistic expectations to think that every time we get on our knees and we pray and we face a situation that we're going to be given an immediate solution. The problem is going to be resolved immediately. And I'm here to say, in all of my 25 plus, actually 33 plus years or 32 plus years of walking with the Lord, safely behind him, in some case him needing to walk beside me, but ever at present before me, that has not always happened. Sometimes I've had to sit there and I've had to swallow the bitter pill we call experience, and move from there. So I say that because, looping back to verse number 4, he was not reprimanding her. He was trying to operate within a set of instructions, spiritual and godly instructions. And verse 5, his mother saith unto the servants, whatsoever he saith unto you, do it. But her, look at this mother, look at little Mary, y'all, look at little Mary. All right. But Mary, the mother of Jesus, even after he said that to her, she turns to the workers, the servants, and she says, whatever he says, you do it. All right. And that was it. No ifs, ands, or buts. Now, I said to you that the miracle started in verse number 3. Okay. It started then because Mary took the problem immediately to the solution. She went, likewise, Kendrick, she went from 0 to 100 really fast. Mary cut out the middleman. Okay, please don't get upset when I say this, people. There comes a point where we have to stop cutting out all of these middlemen. And sometimes we don't understand that a middleman could be somebody's opinion. The middleman is always an opinion. I'm not here to say there's a difference between advice and an opinion. Let us learn that in 2026. An opinion is although we think an opinion and advice are basically the same thing, in reality they are not. An opinion is just can be your thoughts. That's all they are. How you think, what you feel about a topic, a subject, a situation, etc. That's an opinion. Advice is usually and should be seeped, marinated, saturated in experience. I'm saying to us in 2026, based on this miracle, let us cease from looking to and turning to opinions. Let us seek after advice, solid advice, because advice should always be, again, saturated in experience. But I want to give you a heads up and a warning. Advice and opinions can always, and most often are always heavily laden, using biblical terminology. Sometimes they're unsolicited. So I have learned I no longer give my unsolicited opinion or my unsolicited advice. When somebody asks, hey, what are your thoughts? And I will say, are you asking for my opinion or are you asking for my advice? And usually they'll say, well, yeah, I'm asking. And if somebody says, well, what do you think? I'll say, are you, again, are you asking? I make sure that I get clarity. Because if it's something that I don't have experience in, then I make it known. Now, I don't have any, in my response, now, I don't have any experience in this, so this is just my opinion. But if they say, yeah, what's your opinion? And I have experience, I'll say, well, okay, let me say this. This is not my opinion. This is my solicited advice because I've experienced this before, or in my experience, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what the miracle started, because she cut out the middleman. She didn't ask anybody for their opinion. She didn't ask anybody for their advice. She cut out the middleman and she went straight to the source, straight to the solution. She had direct access to the solution. Now, here's what I think. I think that because Mary had been an unwed, got pregnant, and people saw that she was pregnant or expecting before she got married, I think she did not want that family to experience the embarrassment of lack. I think she did not want them to experience the results of wagging tongues. So I think that's why she got involved, because she knew what it was like to experience the emotion of hurt and sadness and embarrassment. And she knew how that could weigh heavily on the mind. So that's why she involved herself, and then she involved Jesus. And notice the level of faith that Mary has in her son. She said, whatever, she told the servants, whatever he said, do it. She didn't turn to him and start arguing, and you need to do this, and these my people, and y'all get. She didn't do that. She simply took it to him, and even after what seems like it felt like a rebuke or put you back in your place, she turns to them with faith and confidence and says, whatever he says for you to do, you do it. Now, here's where I want to speak to the unchurched and the non-churched. This is a new year, and whatever the Spirit tells you to do, you do it. Okay, whatever he tells you to do. If he's convicting your heart to return, then get up, take the initiative, and start visiting. Okay, to the church hurt. If the Spirit tells you, which I'm sure the Spirit is going to tell you, to let it go. Okay, let the hurt go, let the disappointment, let the frustration go. You do it. Whatever he tells you to do, let it go. And then you start the process of returning. To the pew packer, whatever he convicts your life, whatever he convicts you to do in your life, to you yourself, to let go, to do better at, and seek, whatever it is he tells you to seek, you do that. Okay. But stop soliciting opinions and advice. Go be like Mary. Go to the source. That'll make a cute t-shirt, be like Mary. So in verse number 6 is, and there were set there 6 water pots of stone, after the manner of the purifying of the Jews, containing 2 or 3 firkins apiece. Now, verse number 6 speaks to a water purification process that was instituted under the Mosaic law. When you look in the books of Deuteronomy, the Old Testament books of Deuteronomy and Leviticus, you're going to read about the different purification processes. So they were following, evidently that family was following the Mosaic law, as was many of them during the time of Jesus. And it says there were set there 6 water pots of stone containing 2 or 3 firkins apiece. Now, here's what's interesting, and I don't have the time to just go in depth in verse number 6, but Google it and it'll make more sense probably than I can provide clarity. When you think about biblical numerics, not numerology, but biblical numerics, the first thing that you have to understand that in biblical numerics, and my father had me read this other book, Manners. Hey, Marcus, Manners and Customs of the Bible. In biblical numerics, the number 6 is always representative of the number of man. 6 being the number that's identified by man. Okay. Because what happened? Didn't he make man on the 6th day, and on the 7th day he rested? So now you have 6 pots representing mankind. You also notice it says 6 water pots of stone. So you have the 6, not only do you have the 6 water pots of stone, 6 representing the number of man, but you have one of the hardest surfaces that the water is on the inside of from within the container. So that within itself is symbolic of the nature of man, of the resilience of man. All right. After the manner of the purifying of the Jews. So not everybody during that time was adhering to the purification process. This was a religious act. Okay. This was something that they did as a ritual. So it was less about relationship, but more about ritual, containing 2 or 3 firkins apiece. Now, I'm going to look up the word firkin really quick because if my memory serves me correctly, in our time, a firkin, not a Birkin, is something, let me see. A firkin is something like a ladle. Let's see. A firkin, yes. A firkin, a small cask formerly used for liquids, butter, or fish. So in our time, it's pretty much like a ladle. Okay. It basically holds or held liquid. Now, here's what I want to say about that. So from within the water pots, okay, there were ladles for you. Like, again, you have to Google it because the purification involved you sometimes pouring water over you, pouring water on your feet, pouring water on your hands. It was a ritual. And before you could go into a house, before you could eat dinner, you had to, wash your hands a certain amount of times. So from within there, it says containing 2 or 3 firkins. So if there are 6 water pots, okay, and you have that number can also, the number of firkins, give or take, can can take on multiple meanings itself. You could have 12, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. If they only had 2, there's the number of the 12 tribes. There's also the 12 numbers, the 12 representing the 12 disciples who would go on. Is that for me? I didn't bring in a package. 12 apostles. If it had 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 16, 17, 18, you had 8. If there were 3, you had 18. But in biblical numerics, the 1 plus 8 is 9. 9 meaning the beginning of, it doesn't really mean the beginning. Let me look that up, because it doesn't really mean, 9 doesn't mean the beginning of something. It means that whatever is there, it needs to be ordered and structured. And I apologize, because these are things that pop into my head. Let me see. Biblical meaning of number 9. Let's see. Divine completeness, finality, fruits of the Spirit, etc. So that's really the divine 9. Okay, the divine 9 is really the fruit of the Spirit. Okay, now with that being said, so they are from within there. So what you see verse number 6, mankind getting caught up in the religionist practices that has been placed on him for hundreds of years. Okay, what we see in verse number 6, we see the rituals, man being obligated to complete the rituals without relationships. And please don't get upset. I apologize for how I say it, but not necessarily for what I say when I say this. But we're going to see a lot of people going through the rituals today, the rituals of church attendance, because it's the new year. The churches are going to be packed. There's going to be a lot. I heard a pastor friend of mine, Rodney Curry, he said there are going to be a lot of repentance on this Sunday. Yeah, there's going to be an awful lot of repentance, because it's the first Sunday in the year. It's communion or sacrament Sunday, the Lord's Supper, Last Supper, etc. So I'm sure there are going to be a lot of people. I'm going to turn over a new leaf. I'm going back to church. Now, here's the issue with that. When you say that you're going back to church, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with going back to church. Nothing wrong with starting over. Nothing wrong with doing better, being better, becoming better. But don't turn that into a ritual. Don't become enamored with the fact that, I don't have a pen. Don't become enamored. I mean, like my Civitan pen. Don't become enamored with, I'm going back to church. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go. Don't do that. Don't just say, I'm going just because I want to go. Go with the intentions and the expectations of, hey, I'm getting ready to develop a healthy pattern. I'm getting ready to, not just a healthy pattern, but I'm getting ready to make a lifestyle change. And I'm getting, go with the expectations that you're going to receive something when you're there. Don't just go to say, I'm going back to church. Okay, go with the expectations of overhauling and changing your lifestyle. So when you see in verse 6, that's what you see, just the rituals. Man had been going through the rituals and not being restored and or reconnected back to God, knowing the protocols, knowing the procedures, knowing the practices, but being totally disconnected from the spiritual side of things. Verse 7, Jesus saith unto them, fill the water pots with water, and they filled them up to the brim. Okay, so he did do what his mother told him to do, or placed on his heart to do. The first thing that he told them to do was fill the water pots. But notice, he didn't tell them to fill it to the brim. He just told them to fill it. Now, this within itself is symbolic that when you have a relationship, Jesus came to restore man back to God the Father. So when you have a relationship with God, when you have been reconciled and restored back to God through Jesus, his son, by way of the Spirit, then what you should really have, you should really be full. You should be full at all times spiritually. Now, there may come a point where you're empty naturally, you feel low, you feel sad, you feel depressed, you feel, those are all human emotions. But when you have Christ, you should always, you're never empty. There should never be a void there, because you have the source for all life and living. And they filled them up. Verse number 8. And he saith unto them, draw out now and bear unto the governor of the feast. When he said, draw out, that means he's like, serve it now, pull it out now, take it now. And notice, he didn't say, pass it out to everybody. He was specific. He says, take it to the governor, meaning take it to the dignitary, take it to the main person, the main guest. Take it to them. Take it to the person who is receiving the high honor at the feast. Hey, Wayne, who's receiving the high honor. And they took it. All right. Now that was strategic from the standpoint of Jesus. The reason he gave them the directive to take it to the person at the head of the table, the governor or the dignitary or whoever was the bigwig, was because that person would co-sign and bless the marriage. Okay, so that when that young couple left, when the feast ended and the family left, or when the feast ended and everybody had to go back to where they needed to go, then they would be looked at on a higher level than they would, they ran out of wine. The equivalent to they ran out of food. They're out of meat. They're out of ribs. They're out of chicken. It would have been, they would have had to, their new life together would have been started on a negative. Also, the family, the bride's family, if they would have run out of wine, then the bride's family, their reputation would have been shot. So if there were other daughters that they were trying to marry off, then the people would say, wait a minute, how can they provide for my daughter, for my son? How is my son, if the bridegroom was responsible for the wine, how in the world can they provide for my daughter if they can't even feed everybody at a meal, successfully manage to feed everyone at a meal or gathering? So that's what that was about. So that's why he told them to take it basically to the head table. In verse number 9, when the ruler of the feast had tasted the water that was made wine, he knew not whence it was, but the servants which drew the water knew. The governor of the feast called the bridegroom. So the governor, the people at the wedding, they had no clue, but Mary, Jesus, and the servants. Only 3 people. You don't read where he called the disciples over. Come here, let me show y'all something. This is what we're going to do. No. Verse number 10, and saith unto him every man, and now this is what the head table said, the guy, the dignitary said, verse 10, and saith unto him every man at the beginning doth set forth good wine, and when men have well drunk, then that which is worse. But thou hast kept the good wine until now. So the governor basically makes a toast to say in front of everybody, most of the weddings, I'm just going to put it in everyday terms, most of the weddings that I've been to, everybody passes out the cheap wine, but you waited until when everybody's buzzed and happy and stuff, then they start serving them the cheap stuff. But look at what you did. You saved the best for last. You wanted us to leave on a high note, and you wanted us to be well taken care of, So once again, so now Jesus instructing them to take the wine to the head table, the governor now co-signing, in his own little way, not only on the bride and groom, but also to the families. So now everybody will remember that, hey, they did it. and we had a nice time, and this was a good family. But here's what I want to say about that. Verse number 11, this beginning of miracles. Thank you. Can you all say hi? This beginning of miracles. Are you driving with me? Okay. We're going to give me about 10 minutes. I'm finishing up. This beginning of miracles did Jesus in Cana. Can you text him and tell him we're coming late? This beginning of miracles did Jesus in Cana of Galilee. My Civitan pen. The Cana of Galilee, and manifested forth his glory, and his disciples believed on him. Now, in closing, here's what I want to say about this miracle. Now, this is a miracle within itself, because how is it possible? Jesus, when he prayed and water was in there, just the basic necessity for life and living, i.e. water and air. Water was in there. But look at what Jesus did. Jesus changed the molecular structure of the water. In that one miracle, he proved that not only was he not from here, but he also proved that he had power over nature, that he had power over the physical things. Because in order for you to change water into wine, you have to change the molecule. If it's not going to be fermented, you have to immediately change the molecular structure of it. Fermentation changes over time the molecular structure of water, so it ceases from being water to wine. So he expedited that process. Power over nature. And he did it without using a grape, a pomegranate, a plum. He did it without using any of those things, which proved that he was Lord over nature. Now, here's something that I want you to think about. I also want you to think about that he changed something from a necessity. He took a necessity and turned it into a want, a desire. All right. Now, how does any of this apply to us in 2026? The first step I want you to do, be like Mary. When you identify there is a need, there's a problem, if not in your life, but in the life of somebody else, cut out the middleman. Take that through prayer to Jesus. Take that to him. Make the situation known to him. Even though he knows all things, make it known to him. When you pray and you make it known to him, what you're doing is you're inviting him. Prayer invites him into the problem, to get involved in the problem. The next thing we need you to do is to have faith. Be like Mary. Whatever he tells you to do, do it. That's faith. Faith is what is going to change the water into wine. Faith is what changes the problem into a solution. So make sure you invite him through prayer. Incorporate faith into the equation. If you take it to him, be like Mary. Trust that he's going to be there and be able to fulfill whatever the request that you're asking him. And number 3, walk, W-A-L-K, walk in the solution. Be thankful. Be like the governor. Be thankful that he got involved. Well, you know what? Eve, that's the conclusion of this lesson. I will go back and type the intro and the lesson formats and stuff, because again, I was going to be on the laptop, but things happened. So, and as we always say, if you have Christ, you're already a winner. If you have the Spirit of the living God, you can face any challenge life throws your way. This was lesson 56 for 2026. If you've missed any of the lessons from lesson 1 through lesson 55, go to the YouTube page, Lori Stimpson Arteaga, online Sunday school lessons for the Unchurched, Nonchurched, Church Hurt, and Pew Packer, and catch up. We'll see you next Sunday.